Hi, welcome. Do you want to register a case in the district case monitoring system and you're wondering where to begin? If you answered yes to my question, then you are on the right place. In this session, I'll show you how you can access the DCMS application to perform case registration and data entry. The DCMS application is implemented in the MVC MIS system. So you should have an active MVC MIS account with credentials such as username and password so as to log into the MVC MIS system. The accounts in MVC MIS system are created with special permission. So if you don't have an MVC MIS account, contact your administrator so that he or she may help you get one. I will log in with my credentials in the MVC system. After logging in, click on the menu icon at the top right-hand side of the screen and type DCMS in the search field. Then click on the DCMS icon to open the DCMS application. From the interface that appears, specify the area where the case has to be registered by clicking on the organization unit tree at the left-hand side of the interface and selecting a village level. Note that you should select a village level because cases in DCMS application are registered at the village level. For example, I'll select one village from the Dodoma region, Bahi District Council, Babayu Ward, as Sanje Village. Notice that immediately after I selected a village from the organization unit tree, the DCMS program has been selected in the application. So to register a new case, click on the register button. A case enrollment form will be displayed. The enrolling organization unit will be filled with the village that we had selected from the organization unit tree. The date of initial referral is filled by default with today's date, but this can always be edited by clicking on the input field and selecting a date from the calendar. Be sure to select the correct date of initial referral depending on when this case was initially reported to you. The case sequence number is automatically generated by the system. This cannot be edited or changed, but it should be noted down inside the child file in the respective case. Specify the source of referral by clicking on the drop-down button at the right-hand side of the input field and select the relevant source of referral for this case. Lastly, specify the area of incidence, that is, where the case had occurred, by clicking on the plus button at the far right-hand side of the input field. Select the area or place of incidence from the organization unit tree that appears. For example, I will select one word from the Dodoma region. Scroll down to find the select button and click on it. Fine, we have completed registration of the case. Now we need to save this case and move to the next section to enter case investigation details. So click on Save and Continue button. The case enrollment information that we have just registered is displayed on the first section of the interface that has been displayed. You can complete this case if you want to mark it as complete, or you can delete it in case that you registered this case by accident. Scroll down to see more sections and enter data for investigations that have been done. Firstly, you have to specify the date of incident of this case. This is different from the date of initial referral in that the date of incident is the date when the case had actually occurred, while the date of initial referral is the date when the case had been reported. So these can be different. Click on the input button and select a date from the calendar that appears. After that, move to the next section where you'll be required to enter details of the child. The first detail required here is the child's file number. Always remember to enter the child's file number in the appropriate format as instructed. The format has to include the district code, slash word in short form, and slash the financial year when the case is being registered, slash file number of the child, slash number of case. Make sure that you follow the right format in registering the child's file number. Then fill all other child's detail by selecting from the drop-down or filling in the fields respectively. After completing the child's details, select the type of case that you are going to perform investigation and take respective actions. So if it's van cases, you can select on van. If it's not van, uncheck van and select CICL if it's CICL case. There are some cases that involve both van and CICL circumstances. So you can check both van and CICL for such cases. I will select both and then continue with data entry for the other sections that appear. Notice that as I was selecting the type of case, the input fields that appear vary depending on the case type chosen here. So be careful to select the right type of case you are dealing with so that you cannot miss any investigation required. So for example, I have selected both VAN and CICL. I have to fill both sections for VAN and CICL. For example, here I have to select the type of CICL conducted. It may be crime against the person or crime against the property. I can select all options as far as they were involved. Select the type of violation conducted. You can select one or more. You can also select all if they were involved, if they are relevant to your case. Move to the next section and select the crime against the person. You can select one or more fields. If you don't find your option in the listed fields, you can specify it here in this search field. Here you can write anything that is relevant that has not been described in the above fields. You have to also specify the crimes against the property if were conducted. So if there were armed robbery, you can check, or you can check if there was extortion conducted. If there were housebreaking conducted, you can check on that field. You can check as much fields as you can, depending on the ones relevant to your case. And if there is another crime against property that has been conducted but is not listed here, you can specify it here in this field. Then move to the next section where you'll be required to select the contributory factors. According to your investigations, you have discovered some contributory factors that led to this case. So you have to specify them here. So you can select it from the ones listed here. You can select one or more. And then you can specify other contributory factors that have not been listed here. If it's not identified or unknown, you can also check this here. Specify the number of perpetrators involved in this case. So you can select it from the drop-down if it's one, two, or more than two perpetrators. For example, maybe I can select more than two perpetrators. The next section will require you to explain the alleged perpetrators for this case. For example, I can say father or mother. Depending on the investigation provided, you will fill the ones that are relevant with your case. Move to the next section and fill the responsible people for this case. You have to specify the name of the SWO and the SWO respectively in the fields available. Then move to the next section where you'll be required to explain if this case had cause of concern. So you have to select from this drop-down. If this case had cause for concern, select yes and fill in the required fields here. If it had no cause for concern, then you select no and these fields will disappear since if you have no cause of concern, there's no need of filling them. So be careful to select here the right option since the option selected will determine the fields that will be displayed for you to enter data. So for example, if I say yes, there is cause for concern for this case, then I'll have to enter details of the initial investigation. I have to specify the date that the initial investigation was completed, the responsibility for the initial investigation, which you'll have to select from the drop-down, and then the outcome of the initial investigation also will be required, which will also be selecting from the drop-down list here. For example, let me just say it's suffering, and the responsibility for this investigation is SWO, and then the year, the date is that one. And so the initial investigation has a period in which it has to be completed. So make sure that you complete the initial investigation within the right time, that is, within 1 week. Then move to the next section where you'll be required to enter details of the social investigation. Social investigation. And here you'll be required to specify the date when the social investigation was completed. This is very important because as we know that the social investigation has a fixed period and it is not required to exceed that period. So you should specify the date if it's within the required period. And here, the outcome of the social investigation, you click on the dropdown and select the relevant outcome. If the social investigation has not been completed, you can leave this as blank and you can complete it later on. Then, if the social inquiry remand has been completed, you'll be required to specify it there. And if the assessment of child placed in remand has been completed, you also have to specify it there. For example, if I specify that the social inquiry report has been completed, I'll be required to specify the date when this inquiry report was completed. If not, I'll uncheck that and I'll come to fill it later when it will be completed. Move to the next section where you'll be required to specify the implementation of child protection regulation, if there was a case conference, if child protection plan, if there is a care plan for the child, or maybe there was a court order or other. You specify the one relevant. Then move to the next section where you'll be required to specify the emergency interventions involved in the case. For example, if there was removal of the perpetrator from the home, you'll have to check this. If removal of child from home, you can select here the relevant option. If the child was removed from home, where was the child taken? Maybe from a shelter or safe house, from a kinship care, from to children's home, to fosters or care fit person. So you select the one that is relevant. And here, if there is any other emergency interventions conducted, you can specify it here. Move to the next sections where you'll be required to specify the long-term alternative care on the child. And here you will have to specify from the drop-down list the one that is relevant to your case. So you can continue with all informations, selecting more than one options where required, and clicking from the drop-down menus as required, depending on the ones that are relevant to your case. Remember that it is not necessary to complete all investigations so as to be able to enter details in the case. You can fill few details and come back later on to edit more details. To add another child in this case, for example, if this child involved two children or more, scroll up to find the plus button at the right-hand side of the details of the child and case form and click on it. Then specify the date of incident, which I'll assume it was the same date, on 9th, and then click Save. Doing so will add another child form in this same case, and you'll be required to enter investigation details based on this child. So you will also fill in the same way that we filled the first form. After completing all investigation information, you can click Complete to mark this case as completed. Meanwhile, that the case has been completed in terms of all investigation and the case has been closed. Now you can click Complete. You can also delete this case in case that you have found out you cannot continue with this case, or there is no reason to continue with it, or maybe you had registered this case by accident. Then you can click on the delete icon. So as I said, that data is saved automatically as you continue filling in these forms, and you can always come back to edit this information by searching the case sequence number um, from the list of cases available for this village. So let me show how you can search for this case and access it for editing. So you have to scroll up at the top of these forms and find this back button here. Click on it to go back to the list. Here you'll find a list of cases, and for this village, we only have one case registered. So it's just easy to spot it out that this is the case that we have just registered and we want to go and edit it. You can just click on it here and open it. But for example, if we would have more than 100 cases registered in this village here, or maybe 90 or 50 cases, then it will be cumbersome to go through the list searching for the case that we want to edit. So in such cases, you have to click the search button here and simply enter the case sequence number. For example, for this case, I had noted down the case sequence number as 38,032. And so after writing it there, I'll click on the enter button in my PC, and this will lead me directly to the case that I was editing. So the forms will open up for further editing. So if I want to enter details for the first child, I'll select the first row in this form, and the respective child's form will open for me to enter details. As you see there, so you can always fill information that has been acquired or collected based on the investigation and come back later to fill more information. if I want to enter information for the second child, I'll have to click on this second row here after the first child's information has done. So thank you. Up to this moment, I hope that you will be fine with registering new cases in the district case monitoring system and entering investigation details depending on the available information. Thank you.